Whether you're someone that just wants the latest tech news or someone that wants deeper dives into the latest tech innovations, listening to podcasts is a great way to stay up to date with the latest in technology. So coming up, I'll share with you the top 20 tech podcasts you should be listening to that can help you to stay informed, all of which are available wherever you listen to podcasts. Let's get started. With 20 to show you, we'll go through these quicker than usual. First up in alphabetical order, with nearly 600 episodes, is the Accidental Tech Podcast. This weekly podcast, with episodes that vary from an hour and a half up to 2.5 hours, is hosted by 3 software developers. They discuss the latest tech news, trends in the industry, and software development with a heavy focus on Apple-related products. One of the newest podcasts in this video is Android Faithful. It began in 2023 and now just has over 50 episodes to date. This weekly podcast, with an average runtime of an hour and a half per episode, is hosted by Ron Richards, Wen Tudao, Jason Howell, and Michal Rahman. My apologies if I pronounced any of those names incorrectly. Each week they discuss the latest Android news, hardware, apps, and a whole lot more. If you want to learn more about the business side of tech, the BG2 Pod podcast is one to check out. This one just started in January of this year, and at this time only has 13 episodes. This bi-weekly podcast, with episodes that are around an hour each, is hosted by successful venture capitalists Brad Gerstner and Bill Gurley. While they do discuss various topics, they're heavily focused on investing, and of course the hot topic these days, the AI industry. Gaining in popularity over the last couple of years, the Big Technology Podcast, with over 300 episodes, is a show that started in 2020. It takes listeners behind the scenes in the tech world. It's hosted by Alex Kantrowitz, a Silicon Valley journalist. With 2 new episodes each week, roughly an hour long, Alex interviews founders of companies, CEOs, and other insiders to get clearer insights of complex topics and explanations of technology's role in society. Bloomberg is a well-trusted source in the financial world, and their Bloomberg Technology Podcast, with nearly 600 episodes, is no exception. This daily podcast, clocking in at around 40 minutes each, offers a global perspective on the daily tech news. Hosted by Ed Ludlow and Caroline Hyde, they provide interesting insights into the financial side of technology. The Changelog, with over 750 episodes, is a great podcast to listen to if you're interested in the various aspects of software. This podcast, with episodes twice a week, offers the latest news and information on all types of software, developer tools, and programming languages. Their interviews with prominent leaders in the tech world are quite good as well. Code Story, with more than 550 episodes, gives listeners a behind-the-scenes look at the ups and downs of creating world-class tech products and services. This podcast, with 2 new episodes every week, averaging from 20 to 30 minutes each, is hosted by Noah Labhart. He interviews tech leaders, taking a deep dive into what it took for them to take their products to market and the challenges they experienced along the way. The Cultcast is a long-running podcast with more than 650 episodes that covers all things Apple. This weekly podcast, with episodes that vary from 45 minutes to an hour, discusses the latest Apple news, rumors, and the latest products with plenty of humor to keep it entertaining. So if you're an Apple fanatic, this is one of the best podcasts to listen to. The Daily Tech News Show is a fantastic podcast with more than 1,700 episodes that's great for those of you wanting to get deeper analysis into the latest tech headlines. This is one of those podcasts where I don't miss a single episode. Hosted by longtime veterans in tech journalism, Tom Merritt and Sarah Lane, along with a revolving panel of guests, this daily 30-minute podcast covers the most important tech stories of the day, spanning a wide variety of topics. Now for something completely different. The Darknet Diaries podcast, with around 150 episodes, explores the darker side of the internet. This monthly podcast, with new episodes released the first Tuesday of each month, is hosted by Jack Rysider. He explores true stories behind cybercrime, hackers, shadow government activity, and security breaches. Jack is great at explaining complex subject matters in a simple way. The Hustle Daily Show, with over 600 episodes, is another podcast where I don't miss a single episode. It covers both the latest business and tech news. This daily podcast from the folks at the HubSpot Podcast Network, with several hosts, offers an entertaining take on the headlines in the world of business and tech with an expansive exploration of the hot topics of the day. Security Now is the first of 3 podcasts from the Twit network. While they've done hundreds of episodes over the years, only a little more than 100 are available from the various podcast players. This weekly podcast is hosted by well-respected cybersecurity expert Steve Gibson, along with Leo Laporte. With most episodes being over 2 hours, the show covers all things security, including malware, hacks, software bugs, zero-day exploits, and a whole lot more. Tech Life is a popular podcast that started back in 2014, now with more than 500 episodes available. It's from the folks at the BBC World Service. This weekly podcast, with episodes that clock in at exactly 26 minutes, explores the broader implications of tech in our daily lives. Topics they've covered in the past include artificial intelligence, electric vehicles, coding, robotics, and cybersecurity. Another podcast I never miss, with more than 1,800 episodes, is the Tech Meme Ride Home. It's from the same folks that created my favorite tech news aggregation website called Tech Meme. Hosted by Brian McCullough, this daily podcast, that's around 15 minutes in length, covers the day's top tech news stories without too much filler. Brian sometimes has bonus episodes on the weekends, interviewing leaders in the tech industry. Tech Stuff is one of the longest-running tech podcasts. It started way back in 2008 and now has over 2,000 episodes, which is quite impressive. Hosted by Jonathan Strickland, it averages around 3 episodes weekly, with episodes that range from around 20 to 45 minutes each. Jonathan explores the positive and negative aspects of technology with in-depth discussions. This Week in Tech, with more than 900 episodes, is the flagship podcast of the Twit.tv podcast network. Having started in 2005, after the collapse of Tech TV, it's one of the most successful tech podcasts of all time. This roughly 2.5-hour weekly podcast, with new episodes every Sunday, is hosted by Leo Laporte. Each week he is joined by a group of tech journalists and experts discussing the week's biggest technology stories. The Vergecast from the Vox Media Podcast Network is the flagship podcast of the popular tech website The Verge. It started in 2014 and is getting close to 800 episodes. With new episodes twice a week, ranging from 40 minutes to an hour and a half each, this casual show discusses the latest tech headlines, artificial intelligence, tech devices, and a whole lot more. Also from the Vox Media Podcast Network is Waveform, the MKBHD podcast. It started in 2019 and now has around 250 episodes. This weekly podcast is hosted by YouTuber Marques Brownlee, along with co-hosts Andrew Manganelli and David Immel. With episodes around an hour and a half, they discuss everything from smartphones to electric cars and everything in between. Now, if you're looking for a podcast discussing Windows and all things Microsoft in a non-fanboy way, Windows Weekly is for you. Also part of the Twit.tv network, it began in 2006. With new episodes each Wednesday, Paul Thurrott and Richard Campbell are joined by Leo Laporte to discuss the world of Microsoft, including new hardware, software, services, enterprise, and they even have a segment discussing Xbox. From the folks at the Wall Street Journal is their tech podcast they call the WSJ Tech News Briefing. Over the years, they have a total of more than 2,300 episodes. This daily podcast with episodes that are around 12 minutes, along with their Tech Minute episodes, brings the tech news of the day without too much fluff, making them easy to consume. Thanks for watching. If this video helped you to find a new podcast to listen to, give this video a thumbs up and share it with others. What technology podcasts do you listen to? Let us know about them in the comments. And if you're someone that's new to our channel, subscribe and click the bell to not miss out on our latest top 10s and other tech-related stuff.